think it was beautiful.
It's wonderful. The new generation, I think, are absolutely tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I reflect on them to how I was 45 years ago, they're so much more advanced. My God.
Please, and if you can. But here's the very interesting thing, which you just said. I think this, in my opinion, this summarizes who you are as a person. We were just talking about Adobe right now, right? Production. And what did he say? Are you going to teach me? Like, I think Peter is someone who is always eager to learn.
That's the mindset. Yeah. It's great to have you on our podcast, Peter. Thanks a lot. We've been waiting the window in your calendar quite a long time. You're such a busy person, and we would uncover why. Thanks for coming. We're very happy to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
So we start the podcast in several ways. For this conversation, we're going to adopt the style of a Diary of a CEO, where he looks at the guest and he's like, Dr. Peter, what is your mission? But it's a very interesting conversation, because why I'm going to ask you that is because your career spans over 4 decades.
Yes.
And for those who've had the privilege, like us, to have a sneak peek into your biography, we don't just see one story. We see an evolution of different chapters in your life where you've redefined yourself, you've
Evolved.
You know. So, and I'm sure you can connect all those things to what you said earlier on. You know, you are being of service, but I'm interested to know how you define who you are, what your mission is, what all those evolutions lead to.
You know, reflecting on it, you can probably conclude some things, but as you were going through life and through your working life and your career and your family life and education, you just take that step and do something, you know? And life has a way of taking you on a journey, I believe. And my life has taken me on a journey from being a young-faced, small boy at the age of 16 that left school and started an incredible journey Tuesday, 2nd of September 1980, as an apprentice, to receiving a doctorate for services in industry around business re-engineering. That is a story in itself.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, I'm a father of 4, lived in Dubai for 20 years, traveled the world probably the 20 years before that to most continents of the world. I have some stories to tell about those times. Did I have a mission in mind? Not at the time, no. No, I kind of just, you know, went with the flow. What was next? What do we need to do? Where do I see myself?
But there was a clear sense of purpose, of focus. I mean, some of us don't have houses in our 40s. You were a property owner at 18. I mean, that's a different 18-year-old for sure.
Well, you know, 17 and a half, you know, we'll probably talk about, you know, my upbringing. You know, I was from a working class family in Middlesbrough, in Teesside, in the northeast of England. And it's a tough area. It's an industrial area. And even I reflect now, when I left school, what choices did I have? You had a choice. No one in my year went to university. 0. Some people went to college where they could pass their time with maybe 2 more years. Some people went into an apprenticeship, if they were lucky, if they were available. And some people went on social benefit. That's your choice. Yeah, and predominantly in the Teesside area at the time, it was petrochemical, steel, a little bit of mining and a little bit of shipbuilding, but not a lot. They've all disappeared now. All of them have disappeared. It's incredible to see the transformation. Yeah, maybe not so good transformation over the last 4 decades of the area, but that was the choice, and I chose the apprenticeship route. Yeah, rather than going to college. In fact, when I was at school, I wanted to be a garden designer. You probably don't know this. And I did my diploma in Royal Horticulture. And I was fascinated with garden. I mean, this is 45 years ago, and if I reflect now and see what's happened in the world of landscape gardening and the businesses that are out there, that was my passion. So I didn't follow my passion, right? I went into an apprenticeship that taught me skills, discipline. I earned money. I was earning money at the age of 16. I went back to college. I was working shifts at the age of 16 and a half. 3 shifts, morning shift 6 till 2, afternoon shift 2 till 10, and night shift. College on day release. And the story about me getting to that point is also interesting. Maybe we can chat about that at some point, because that didn't happen easily.
Yeah, so there's this huge level of intentionality in what you're saying. You keep repeating the word, it was a choice, and you chose this. And those were not very easy choices that you had to make. Is that how you see life, in the sense of there are options and you have to pick an options? I mean, would you argue that some individuals probably didn't have that choice to make per se?
Everybody has choices.
Interesting.
Yeah, everybody has choices, and you can live your life the glass half full or the glass half empty. Yeah, and I didn't choose to have mine half full. It just was half full, and I was always topping it up with something. I always felt the need to do something, and learn and progress, but not in a career way or an academic way. I was never saying I want to be the CEO of this, or I want to run business transformation in a Dubai. None of that was there, but I always was willing to learn, challenge the status quo, even at a young age. You know, and maybe I'll tell you a couple of stories, and that might set the scene. So, at the age of 15 and a half, when I applied, when I was ready to leave school, I got the invitation to go for an interview. I passed the aptitude test to go into ICI. ICI was the Rolls Royce of apprenticeships, and there were only 6 places available in the whole of Teesside, 1 million people, 6 places. So I got past the test, set for the interview. The date was set for the interview, and my father was working. We only had 1 car in the family, 5 of us in the family. So I walked to the bus stop, a few miles to the bus stop, waited for the bus. The bus didn't turn up.
You could have given up,
The
right?
bus didn't turn up. So, and it happened regularly. So I walked back home and told my mother. She panicked. What am I going to do? You know, what happened?
Yeah.
And at that point, I saw out of our kitchen window one of my neighbours pull up in his car, and his name was Joe, and he'd just finished his night shift. And I went out and explained to him the predicament, and I could see he was shattered. And I liked him, and I used to get on with his boys. He lived 2 doors away from us, and he said, "Get your bag. I'm going to take you as far as the gate, which is the entrance to the huge petrochemical complex." And he dropped me. I then had to speak to the security guard who allowed me to walk in, and I had to walk 3 miles to the place of interview. I got to the reception desk, and to my horror, not surprise I guess at the time, but to my horror, the lady said, "It's over. They're finished."
Too late.
I was 2 hours late. So I told her my story, and whether she felt sorry for me or I just looked disheveled, that she said, "Sit down. I'm just going to make a call." So she made a call, and then about 45 minutes later, this very charming, I would call posh-looking gentleman turned up with his cravat and his tie, and he was in his late 50s, and I learned later that he was a senior ICI guy. His name was Tony Young. He was Dr. Tony Young, and he sat me down and he said, "I've just been told that you've walked 3 miles, but you missed your interview." So I told him the story, and we sat and chatted for 45 minutes about why I decided not to just turn my back, resilience, character, why I wanted the apprenticeship, and we just chatted, just like you and I are chatting. And then that was it. He thanked me. He got me a car back to the gate, where I then got on the bus and went home. 2 days later, I got the offer.
That was the interview.
Yeah.
That was the interview.
Yeah.
Now, if I'd have turned my back and said, I'm not going to go, my life would have taken a different path.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I don't know what that path would be because I haven't travelled it. I've travelled this path. And that was the start of it.
Yeah.
And then moving on, I guess, in those days, I think I was £12 a week I was getting. And I used to give my mum half straight away towards housekeeping and support. And that left me with, well, you could do a lot with £6.
I just have to ask, are you the oldest? Were you the eldest?
No,
kid?
so I have a sister who is 1 year older than me, 1 year and 20 days. And I'm a twin brother.
Oh, wow.
So I have a twin,
Wow.
Stephen. Yeah, so my mum had 3 children with a 1 year gap. And the youngest was 2 boys. Yeah?
Wow.
So imagine the tough life that they had
Yeah.
in
Do you-
those days.
Yeah. Do you think that your formula and your success in life is your skill not giving up and pushing it forward and just achieving what you thought that can be achieved?
Maybe, when I completed this thesis I had to do for the doctorate, I reflected on things I'd forgotten about. And I forgot the days when we, as a family, it's changed now completely, which is so sad, but we used to sit at the dinner table every night as a family and talk. If I wanted to leave a table, I'd have to ask permission. Yeah, and discipline was inherent, but not bad discipline,
Yeah.
good discipline. The 3 of us used to take turns in setting the table, washing. There was no washing machines in those days, right? And then drying the pots, putting them away, making our own bed. And at one point, there was 5 of us in a 3-bed terraced house, and my mum's dad, my granddad, came to live with us because Grandma passed away, and rather than him going home, he came to live with us, and he used to share 6 months with us and 6 months with my mum's sister. My mum's a twin, actually,
Oh, wow.
just out of interest. And I think those stories and the things we used to do as family, and at least once a month, the extended family, my dad had 5 brothers with all of my cousins. We used to go to the beach. It wasn't about spending money, it was just about being together. And that definitely helped shape that early discipline. But not military discipline,
Yeah.
but respect, manners. If you got food on a plate, you finished the plate. Yeah, not that we were poor, right? We weren't poor, but you were grateful for what you got.
I read that not too long after that full circle moment, you became a director on the same institute.
Yes, indeed. So I went through my apprenticeship, which was at the time 2 to 3 years, because part of the way through the apprenticeship things changed, and the era of multi-skilling came in. So it wasn't just a dedicated apprenticeship on being a technical person. You had to have a broader set of skills. And then years later, probably within a decade, I went to head up that business and took that business, that training school, which was one of the best apprenticeship schools in the world. I took it overseas and was extremely successful, bringing foreign students to that institute, taking the name of a TTE, they called the company at the time, overseas, into all sorts of countries, and many things we did.
And when you've been giving this leadership position, have you felt confident that you will take it? Or have you had some kind of imposter syndrome or anxiety that you can carry it over?
Yes, I was
etc.?
anxious because I was thinking, how can I do that? Right? And then I had a number of years where I saw others doing things that I thought, I can do that. Why can't I do that? Yeah, and one day I stepped up to the plate. Actually, young in my career. So the first 2 years I was an apprenticeship, 3 years. Then I was on shifts working as a production operator, technician, and a role came up as in quality. So I put myself forward because I was interested in procedures, and I got that role, still in a junior role. And then 2 years later, so by the age of 25, the role came up to be a training supervisor on a broad area, not just the one plant I was on. And I put myself forward and got it, right? And that was a real turning point, because then I became staff. I was one of the youngest staff on Haslam 8 at the time in ICI, but that brought responsibility. And it's interesting, I reflect on, I was a boy that went into a man's world. Yeah, a man's world. And it was terrifying. Because you had to go and talk to people who had so many years experience, and it was tough. They were tough guys. You know, you had to give it.
Men.
Yeah.
I remember at one point, I remember giving my first induction to a group of scaffolders. Right? Maybe 40 of them in the room, and some of them knew my father. Yeah. And I started saying and passing out the papers and giving the induction. I turned my back, and then suddenly a barrage of papers came flying back. And I thought, how do I deal with that? Yeah. But then you persevere and you learn and you work your way through that.
How were you able to earn their respect?
I think a couple of things. One, you've got to be able to go back at them, right? So if I'd have just cowered in a corner and was a nervous wreck, they'd have rode all over me, and I didn't do that. So I had enough about me to ad-lib with them a little bit, you know, and joke. But then by going through the detail, the technical detail, the knowledge I had, and letting them know that this was mandatory. Yeah, and it's up to them if they want to complete it or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't impact me, but it's up to them. And then they were okay. They went through it. Yeah.
I think it's a mix of the banter and the fact that, hey, listen, this is your
Yes.
qualification.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. Now, going back to the point about being a house owner, so I was looking at it, and I thought, you know, the money that I was, not that I thoroughly enjoyed giving my mother half of my salary, absolutely. In fact, I felt guilty thinking about moving it away, but I could actually go and get a property. I'd saved up a little bit of money. I could go and get a property for less than that. So I thought it was time to do that. And then I did several properties, but I did them up and lived in them, moved out, and went on my own. Yeah.
No, truly.
I was the first one to leave. I was the youngest. I'm the youngest of three. So I was the first to go. Yeah. Not far away, but far enough.
I mean, but again, fast track till today. I mean, you are miles away from home.
No,
I mean, we're
yes.
all, in a different reality. But even before coming to present day Dubai, and then of course from that career you moved into other different industries. But I want to touch on your leadership responsibilities and your leadership roles across. You've worked in different continents, including Nigeria.
Yes.
You've been shot at in Port Harcourt.
I have.
That was very interesting to see. What you say has been your greatest learning, point when it comes to leading, across continents? Because that's really interesting.
This is interesting because I talk about this with my CEO, the current CEO I have, who is a force of nature, an incredible man. And we talk about it, and the way we reflect on it is, as a leader, you can walk in front and expect others to follow, or you can walk beside them and be with them. And that's the choice I took, to walk alongside people, not to be in front. I never felt the need to have that position dictate my authority. I didn't come from an authoritarian, which is one of the reasons I got into trouble when I was younger. At the age of, in the 20s, when I got promotion to staff, you were expected to wear a tie. I refused to wear a tie, right? One, because it was uncomfortable. Two, because I would have had some real stick, right, from people who I knew. And I felt at the time that, and the culture was different then. It was hierarchical, it was very old school. But I felt a lot of the leaders at the time were hiding behind the tie. Yeah, and they weren't getting respect. They were getting respect by dictating and, in that sort of, in a way that I call the negative way, telling others what to do rather than asking them would they like to do, or should we do this together.
Yeah.
So that was one of my first scoldings, actually, not wearing a tie. And I had to go up to the plant manager and explain to him why I felt I didn't want to hide behind a tie. I didn't need a tie to have a position of authority.
Being a leader in different continents, across different countries, how do you see your leadership skills and how you put the people first and all the work second in influencing them to do the work itself, and cultural aspect? Because in every culture, in every country, people would look at it and have a different perception, right? Do you have a tie or you don't have a tie? But they will look
Yes,
at
they
you
do.
differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't wear a tie in some cultures, then you're not seen as,
Yeah.
a leader.
Important person.
As important. Yeah, that's right. And you have to adapt. 2 lessons I learned, I think, and I traveled for many, many, many years across all different continents and different cultures. And 2 things I learned. You can't take what you have learned to date and what you know and what you think is good and try to fit that into somebody else's culture.
True.
Yeah.
You can try, but it's difficult. And the other thing I learned is that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? And listening is very difficult. It's more difficult than talking. Yeah, but if you listen and try to understand what are people trying to do, what are they trying to achieve, and how can you help with their goals, and then try to mold your solutions or your knowledge to support their objective, not my objective. Yes, of course, my objective was to do some business and get some money and win contracts. But that was secondary to their objective, because I knew if we delivered their objective, the rest would follow. And it did, for decades. I used that approach. Yeah, so for example, when I was working for a company, when I left ICI, I joined DuPont as head of technical training, then I went to Petrofac, and we built a training center in Azerbaijan for BP. And we had to bid for it, we listened to them, we put forward a solution, and they liked it, and we won that contract. We kept that contract for 12 years. Their objective was to take technical engineers that have been through university and give them the skills and the know-how, so that 95% of the BP offshore platforms were managed and run by local Azeris, and we delivered that. Right? Now that is, if you look at Azerbaijan today, it's incredible transformation. The first time I went there, it was grey, dull, former Soviet Union country, and there wasn't that much optimism around the country. You go now, wow, it's an incredible place. And the government there, the ruling family invested the oil wealth back into the country. In fact, I remember one news event that was publicised live on TV where he held up the building of that technical training capability as one of the top objectives for the country that's delivered what it's delivered. And, that wealth spreads. So all of those people that got the jobs, that were earning the wealth, it was going into the families, it was going into the local community. They were travelling. So the airport, built a new airport. Ease of doing business then came about. And it was like a mini Dubai, going back 30 years.
It's kind of like a rewarding journey, right? Because you get to see the tangible outputs or outcomes of what you're also investing in, the efforts. Is that what also further fueled your journey into transformation? The fact that you can see the seeds sown and you can start seeing the outcomes as well?
I think so, Obi, but it wasn't, let me tell my story of business transformation. Okay. My story of business transformation. So we move on to recent times. I was part of the DP World transition team that went into dry docks to look at what DP World had acquired, and then after a while I got invited to stay. I stayed, and I was in a sort of productivity improvement role. And then my CEO came to me one day and he said, "I want you to take over IT." IT? I'm not an IT guy. No way. Why would I do IT? I don't know IT.
I had,
yeah? He said, "No, there's something about IT." This was 6 years ago. "There's something about IT. We need to think about it." I said, okay, let me sleep on it. Yeah, and I did sleep on it. And the next morning I went back to him, and within 1 minute I said to him, Rado, I said, I'll do it, but I don't want to call it IT. Why not? I said, IT to me is about fixing things. It's about problems. It's about laptops and desktops and printers and networks. And I'm not interested in that. Call it business transformation solutions 6 years ago, and I'll do it. He reflected on it for about 10 seconds and he said, right, let's do it. So then I started business transformation solutions in dry docks. Before people start talking about business transformation from a technology perspective or an AI perspective. AI wasn't even around then.
Talking about it
Everybody's
now.
talking about business transformation now, but I created that thing several years ago. IT for me meant something different. It meant information and technology, the best use of technology for transforming the business. How do we use data? Things that people talk about now every week in the conferences, ADIPEC and GITEX. It's all about technology. But it was about how can we drive future technology developments to improve productivity. What was the driving force behind it? In fact, I sat my team down, the team I got, and I said, they knew me, and I introduced myself, and I said to them, the first sentence I said was, I'm not interested in creating the best IT department in DP world. There was a sharp intake of breath. I said, I'm interested in creating the best production department in the maritime industry. That was the driver, and it changed their mindset overnight. It's a story on your last podcast about the guy who asked the cleaner, what is your role? I'm here to put a man on the moon.
Yes.
Right? What's IT role? What's finance role? All support departments are there to support production, because production is the part of the business that generates the revenue.
And how
That's
that
why
was
we're there.
welcomed? How that was welcomed by the team? So you
I'm sure
came
they were
there
skeptical.
as imposter.
Sorry
for calling you like that, but
that was absolutely. I guess on reflection, I've just changed my role, so I've just left that team, and I doubled the team over time, and probably to a man and woman, they say it's the best 5 years journey they've had. Because we went into the new, we went into the unknown. Yes, we had to fix things. Yes, we had to look after cybersecurity. Yes, we had to look after networks and that. But we were also looking at value. We were looking at how to create value rather than solve problems. And that's an interesting journey in itself, because, in the old, the way I would look at the old sort of IT prescribed way of resolving problems was to look at use cases from prescribing a problem. What problem are we trying to fix? And people then get into problem solving mode.
Firefighting.
But for me, that's the glass half empty perspective. If you look at it from the glass half full perspective, yes, we had problems, yes, but if you come to it from a point of view of what value we were trying to add to that process, what value we're trying to add to that function, and look at it from a positive perspective, rather than I would consider it, writing specs on the problem. We spent weeks writing specifications for problems. Don't worry about that. Write a specification, how to create value, and have a conversation on value, not on problems. Because I tend to find the problems, they were then looking for solutions to fix problems. No. Look at how you're going to create value, and your solution will come
in achieving
as a consequence of the value you're going to create.
Is it that change of the focus from the problem to the solution that kind of lead to the success of the change, or it's your leadership style that helped people to change their mindset? Because changing the mindset.
No, I think it's a bit of both. You've got to walk the talk, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to be consistent, and you've got to really mean what you say. And in the company I'm in now, Dry Docks World, the leadership team is tremendous, and we do walk the talk. I go out on the shop floor on a weekly basis. For the first 2 years in Dry Docks, every day I was on the shop floor. I wore a suit, but I put overalls on. I listened. I built relationships. I listened to people. I It was hot. I went and had the coffee and the water and ensured that I listened and learned about the processes, what they were doing, how we could support them. And then I would reflect on that back with the team. And the team were like, didn't really get it. Yeah, even though the IT team knew more about production than probably production people. Yeah, from a technical perspective.
Yeah.
But they were not focused on creating value. They were focused on fixing problems.
Still on the system, still on the technology.
Still on technology,
Yeah,
still on
yeah.
systems. No, create value.
Yeah.
What are we trying to do here? Maybe we need to get rid of some systems and some procedures
Yeah. Is
to
that
free up the space to create value.
Yeah. So you build a 10-year strategy. Is that where that at least helped create a long-term perspective for the organization? Like, where did that come into play? At what point did you shift focus to say, okay, fine, guys, this is the long-term...
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not just me, by the way. And I was part of that leadership team, and I just happened to draft the 25 visioning document, and then 5 years after rewrite the 10-year strategic master action plan, which if you want me to talk about, I can.
Yeah, I'm also trying because you need to have that long term. Because again, it's so difficult to look ahead if you don't have a roadmap that guides you. It's as technical people, it's also just very
absolutely.
easy, you know. But the major challenge I see is how do you even get to look that far? Because technology is changing, the climate is changing, the UAE is growing so fast.
Yes.
So I'm even interested to
You know, Obi, it's very interesting. The company that I work for is 45 years old. It was a jewel in the crown. It was a legacy. It was opened by Sheikh Rashid and the Queen of England. I have a photograph on my wall in 1979, and in the middle of them is a young graduate with his Ray-Bans on and his beard, and that was Sheikh Mohammed.
Wow.
Right? 1979. And in those days, there was organizations like that helped pave the way for the future Dubai you see today. Right. Now, of course, over time, you see the Burj Khalifa built and the Burj Al Arab, and you see the retail and other things happen, and you kind of forget about,
the journey.
Shipyards and
shipyards. Yeah.
they're not sexy anymore, right? and that, but it was one of those founding organizations, and what we did in the first few months after in transition, we built a 100-day transition plan. Part of that was to draft a visioning document, and the way we did that, we didn't get consultants in. We could have brought McKinsey in or BCG or Roland Berger, any of them, but we didn't. What we decided.
I'm surprised that you didn't.
No, we didn't. We absolutely didn't, because we had a view that why pay somebody else to come in and tell us what we know, yeah. So we decided to do it ourselves, and I led it. But I wasn't the author of all the information, but I led pulling it together. And interestingly, my CEO asked me to draft a 25-year vision document, and it's a book. It's an A3 book, and it's now a testament of time. That book sits there on the shelf in his office. And what we did, because we had the first 2 years where we weren't really meeting expectations across the board, finances, safety, growth, revenue, blah, blah, blah. So we decided that, things couldn't stay as they were, because the horizon for that picture didn't look good. So what can we do? And we had a leadership team that was a mix of new and old, and we had two camps of people. We had a camp of people that said we should, they called it stick to the knitting, we should do what we do well, we know this, we're a ship repair yard, this is what we should do, etc., etc. And then we had another camp that said if you continue to stay like that, you're dead. I was in that camp. We should be thinking about the future, digital twins, going up value chain in EPC, not just building things. And what was interesting is my CEO, Rado, had a way of pulling it together. He said, we need both, right? We need a very profitable existing business, but we need to be building and going up that value chain. So that vision book was a 25-year visioning document. We had many, many sessions with many teams of people articulating what that meant to us. And in fact, the whole book was a point in time view of the business. And then there was half a dozen pages on strategy. We looked at the market, we looked at indicators, we looked at many things. Coming out of that strategy was some decisions that we then had to get some consultants to come in and help us with, how best to go up that value chain in EPC. And interestingly, after 4 years, the main objectives of the book, we went back and reflected on it, and we ticked the box of everyone We delivered every tick in the box. Yeah, we grew a company from multi-hundred millions to billion plus. Yeah. So last year he asked to rewrite it, but be very focused this time and create a 10-year strategic master action plan based off what came as our strategic pillars. Not strategic pillars that a consultant told us that we needed to build. Strategic pillars of conversations we were having on a daily basis that meant something to all of us. Everything we talked about fit inside these strategic pillars that came from within. So what I did then, I set about talking to the heads of those functions and asked them to write their 10-year action plan and goals for their function, for the business. And they really struggled.
How realistic is the 10-year
They really
action plan?
struggled.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so we had many sessions and I talked to them about what are they going to do this year? What do they think they need to do next year? And of course, 24, 25, they could list some things, and then as you went up 28, 29, there was virtually no bullet points, right?
That's
okay.
fading off.
And that's okay. But 24 was full. They all had a view of what we needed to do in procurement, in people department.
That's clear.
Yeah, in finance, in production even.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the end of it. What we then said to them was, that's okay, people department. That's okay. These are your people objectives for the next 10 years. But now rewrite those objectives, but focus on the 6 pillars. And how are you, people department, going to have an impact on business growth, EPC, business transformation? How are you going to have a growth on infrastructure and support and production? And they all rewrote their specific function objectives and fitted them into the 6 strategic pillars, and they filled the page up to 2030 with objectives. And that's what we're delivering now. All of our objectives, our targets, are all focused on the 6 pillars. And the 6 pillars came from within. Yeah, not from external sources.
So it's about framing the question.
Yes.
Rather than just directing what should be done.
Yes. But sometimes you have to direct because you have to get a step start, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking on the way up here, Obi, about people say to me, because I love cycling just like you, Obi, and I try to cycle 200 to 250 kilometers a week. That's my target. And people say, I don't have time. I say, that's all you have, actually. If you reflect on your life, things come and go, houses come and go, cars come and go, things, but you have time. You're in complete control of your time. You decide what you want to do with it. And I would say to people, even young Emiratis that I mentored over the last several years, my view in life is just take a step. If you're not unsure, you want to go to the gym, or you want to learn to cycle, or you want to start your own business, your coffee shop or this, just take a step. And it's okay if the step's forward, if it's sideways, even backwards, take a step. Don't stay static. Move. Do something.
Actively procrastinating.
Yes. And even now I reflect, I remember, even now 40 years on, some of the people who I know from all that time back, they're still doing the same job. Still in the same place. Still doing the same things. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's their map of the world.
Yeah.
Mine has changed.
Yeah, but again, Atomic Habits, James Clear,
Yes.
Again, still taking that step, And I think it's a great segue to a recent recognition you had for the steps you had been taking throughout your career. You recently earned a doctorate.
I did.
You might tell us
Which was a shock to me.
Yeah, you might tell us about that.
This was part of it, Obi.
There we go.
Right. So this is this is a book I had to write.
Steering the Future.
Steering the Future. The story of
Peter Jackson.
Yeah. And in here, interestingly, you'll see at the back some photos of my life. Right, so this is some cycling journey I've been on.
That's amazing.
And then here you'll see some photographs of my family and my working life. So here I'm with some young Emiratis in dry docks. On this photograph here, I'm stood on Colonel Gaddafi's compound 2 days after he was caught in Libya, in Tripoli. I was in Benghazi when all of this happened. There's a photograph actually here of the time I spent 12 years in and out of Nigeria, and this was one of the shots that were taken. And here I'm in the field. This is when I was in Iraq, working again in the field. And my family, my girls, my wife.
This was such a colourful career.
Yeah. But this is the book. How did this come about? I was asked a few years ago, would you put forward for an honorary doctorate? Because, you know, people you get to know, you talk to them, they say, you've got to do something like this. Oh, no way. So it's not driven by ego. I held back from doing it. And then I thought, why not? Yeah, why not? And it wasn't free. So what I had to do, there are different doctorates that you can get, right? There's the one, you know, again, coming from a sort of an industrial working class background, people who got PhDs or doctorates were those that earned it through university, through academia, through thesis, through issuing, papers and journals, and then only in years later you realise that there's actually honorary doctorates for people who do specialisms in their field, like sports people, for example. And then 15 years ago, some organisations got together, University of Paris, Amri, Cambridge, and a few others, and said we should really recognise people who have made a contribution or have a story to tell, yes, or something. So I actually sent them my bio, which was a page and a half. And then they asked me, do you have more than that? Send me your CV. So I sent them the CV, and they said, absolutely, we should listen to the story. The next step was to have a 2-hour interview, and I talked through my career. And then part of the interviews I had to have with the panel, because you just don't get this, you just don't buy it. You've got to earn it a little bit.
Earn
yeah?
it. Yeah.
Did I feel justified to earn it? Not really, but on reflection, yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then they said, part of it, we've got to publish a thesis that's in the records of something of your journey. So I then started writing this. Now, of course, they would help me, and I would put my words in. And what I ended up doing was writing this. And I also wrote about a lot of the characters I met in my life, from the Irish heads of HR in DuPont to the force of nature that I have as a CEO today. I met some incredible characters with some credible stories, some people like Dr. Tony Young, and I built that in, and they made me take it out, right? Because it was an academic thesis,
Okay.
which is why I have this book now. This was issued to me on the night that I received it.
With the stories.
Without the stories.
Okay.
But I have got the option, which I'm now doing, to rewrite chapters of this, because I want it to be my real story. My life is a story, a transformation story, a development story.
I think it's a story of love for people also. In the short period of time I've known you, I've seen you as such a people person. I don't think I've seen somebody who's just so excited about life and about people and about helping people. And then when I see you, how you've impacted different industries across, would you say that's probably a secret to making impact and driving transformation? You have to get the people aspect right as well.
Yes, I do. And maybe that comes naturally with me. Do I reflect and recognize it? Yes. Is it something I try to do as a tool for winning business or getting people? No, not at all. It just flows naturally from me, and it always has. The glass half full, but it seems to have, yes. And every project I've worked on, every country I've worked in, to recent times, whether it's related to tech developments, AI strategy, whether it's project management, and I know Impact Nexus is focused on PMs, and I've had some disastrous projects that, in fact, I would talk and reflect on my last 6 years in IT. None of the projects went to plan, right? None of them. And they were probably only recovered and delivered because of people. And you can have the perfect world on paper. You can have the perfect project on paper. You can have the perfect job, but without people, you have nothing. And how you build those relationships to deliver the results in a natural way is maybe something that I do naturally. I didn't come here today to think, how am I going to manage to chat with you two? I just thought I'll just chat.
Have a conversation.
And have a conversation.
Yeah.
And this is maybe stood the test of time, because at every level, whether yesterday I was out in the yard, the day before we did a safety brief with several hundred people, and you're working and shaking hands with every level of the organisation, whether you're having, a boardroom discussion or a senior management discussion or disagreement, or whether you are going on a safety tour. When I do a safety tour, for example, I don't go on a safety tour thinking and reflecting how I can find problems and how I can look for problems. Yes, if you see things, unsafe acts, unsafe audits, unsafe behaviours, of course. I start with a view, always start and get the people together to say, I am here to reflect the leadership team of Dry Docks and how we can help you be safer in this company. And open up the conversation that way.
Yeah.
I'm not there to trip them up. I'm not there to find something wrong. I'm there to help them.
And once they see you as one of them, there to help, it's easier.
Yes, of
for
course, you have a role.
barriers, Exactly.
You have a
Yeah,
role, but
yeah,
again,
yeah.
we are, we're all humans, we're people, right?
Yeah.
And we all have a different role to fulfill. And it goes back to the story, the guy that cleans the office is as important as I am.
Absolutely.
Because if I come into work with a dirty office, what reflection does that have on the business?
Just as we round up, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I know we knew that this was going to be peeling up the layer into your career because we're going to delve deeper. But your career has spanned fax machines, the era of fax machines, to an era of flying cars. They're flying cars right now.
Yes.
So you've seen different generations of workforce.
Yes.
How do you analyze the current generation of, employees, the younger generation?
I think they're wonderful. And yes, I started my life when there was, the most technical. In fact, we didn't have email, right? We had DisplayWrite 4, which was a DOS-based green and black typewriter system. And the most technically advanced thing in the office was a fax machine. There was no internet. Imagine a time, Obi. There was no internet. There was no social media. There was no booking, flights online, banking online, taxis online, food online, going to the bank. You had to go to the bank. Yeah, there was zero. Yeah, pretty much zero technology, to a day now where it's all around us every day in our lives. And I think the current generation are fantastic. I know they get a lot of stick, Gen Z, and we're into Alpha now, aren't we? But I see some incredibly talented people. In fact, we've started a project in Dry Docks with big tech AI. I won't name the organisation we're working with, but they are the poster boy of tech AI. And some of the youngsters, or new people that are in the organisation, have just lapped it, Obi. They're solving problems now for frontline production, for example, pipe department, that we couldn't fix in the traditional way. And the way I explain it, we have systems in IT, we have ERP systems, we have back office systems, we have clock in, clock out systems, we have systems. I call that, if you think about an opera house, I call that the seating in the opera house, right? Row 1, row 2, row 3, seat 4, 5, 6. They have a relationship which is very linear. Workflow processes, approvals, too many.
Yeah.
And you've got to go from one to the other. You can't skip. And that's limiting. And AI has freed all of that. And the way I talk about AI in our organisation is it is the musical instruments and the musicians and the conductor that create the magic. It's the magic space, and it's so powerful, and we don't really understand how powerful it is yet, but we're in this powerful space now where we're not having to talk about crims and enhancements and mods on systems that don't fit. Yeah? We're talking now about solutions to resolve problems we've had for decades. So AI is a magic space. Now, it's a tool.
It's a tool on the
It's a
hand
tool.
of the new generation.
On the hand.
That looks differently to the problem, I guess.
Yes, and what do the older generation want? They want their problem solving.
Solved.
And this
Yeah.
is solving them.
Absolutely.
But it's doing it in a different way. Yeah? It's fascinating, Obi, what we're doing now. It's so exciting. I think in fact, I've gone as far as to say, unless we really fully go all in on our AI technological advancement, we will not deliver our strategic objectives. And our strategic objectives are to take our business tenfold of where we are to date. And I will reflect back in 5 years and we will see that success.
I think that's where we're going to actually cap it for today. And in the next conversation, delve deeper into getting that 10x, that is expected, and the journey towards 10x. You want to close the conversation?
I just cannot wait to read your book, the next edition, that will be full of your stories, because I really want to read those stories of success, of transformation, as well as stories of learnings, let's call it.
Yes, and resilience. I tell you, I also have scars. I have battle scars.
Yes.
Not everything went not everything went to plan.
It cannot be, yeah.
Yeah, I was on some projects. We lost projects. We didn't do this, didn't get that. I have the scars, so many.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
a learning.
It's worth of sharing those learnings so the people would understand that human is the human. Mistakes happens, but what we carry from those mistakes is important.
Yes.
And also inspire the other people who would be reading those stories on how your journey evolved.
Yes.
And how you can inspire them, how you can share your wisdom.
Yes.
As well as your experience. So yeah.
Yeah. Let me just finish on two things. Yeah. I also believe that in the world of work, people go to work to do a great job, right? They might go to work to do a mundane job, and they might think, why am I in this job, and they maybe need to change. But they go to work with the best intentions. Now, if you reflect on that in terms of how do you manage change is probably the most difficult thing, and people do not want it. So yes, best intention. Yes, you've got to change, but change is the most difficult thing to happen.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a double-sided coin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talk about it in Dry Docks as, there's two sides of a coin. The side of a coin that we don't want to be on is where we don't drive change. People live in fear. Fear paralyzes a company. Fear is a driver of discontent. It is the driver of not being open, bad performance,
stagnation,
etc. Stagnation.
Yep.
Come out of fear. On the other side of that coin is magic.
Excitement.
I love it.
It's where the space is. It's where we want to be. It's where things can happen. It's where you can be open, and you can deliver pretty much anything you put your mind to. And that's the space that the organisation I currently work for is in.
It's been such
Excellent.
a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your time, Dr. Peter.
You're welcome, Obi.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks a lot for me.
Look forward to the next.